Hello, friends. Svava Brooks here. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for stopping by. Like I said, my name is Svava Brooks. I am a trauma recovery coach, and I love to support fellow survivors on the healing journey after trauma, abuse, or neglect. You can learn more about my coaching and group programs and books on my website, svavabrooks.com. But I love to hang out here on Periscope and YouTube Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we talk about the healing journey. It is way too hard to go through the struggle of the healing journey alone. That's why I'm a huge fan of support groups, peer support groups. I have offered in-person and online support groups since 2013. Oh my goodness, the years add up. But love to bring access to support to anybody out there, and that's why I'm here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're here watching live, please say hello. Please let me know that you're here. Let me know where you're from so we can welcome you. And again, really quick, I got Periscope going live here and YouTube, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on the conversation in both places. And if you want to join the chat over on YouTube, you can search for the name of the book on YouTube and you will find our channel and where we hang out and chit chat. But welcome, welcome, welcome. How are we doing today, my friends? Hey, Wanda. Hey, Sue. How are you, friends? What's new and good? What's new and good? How's the weather in UK? Since I'm from Iceland originally, I have a lot of friends and family. I get regular weather updates. The weather is really bad in Iceland right now. All the flights were canceled, but I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon, so all is well. I'm okay. It's a little gloomy and gray today, but nothing like what I'm hearing about my friends and family dealing with in Iceland. So we have a few UK people, right, Sue? Extremely windy. Yes, that sounds about right from what I'm hearing. It's really, really, really windy. So I hope you're safe and sound, Sue. I remember growing up in Iceland, when it got really, really windy, right? When you open your door, you hang on to the door so it just doesn't just fly right open. And I remember when my kids were little, when we lived there, you hang on to your children so they don't blow away when it gets really, really windy. So, and Wanda says rainy and a cold 57 degrees. That sounds about like what is here. So, and the sun is already starting to set. And after our wonderful time together, I'm hitting the road today or tonight because tomorrow I am training facilitators for Darkness to Light, getting to do one of my favorite things to do. I get to duplicate myself as an instructor and facilitators. I'm training other people to become educators, to go into the community and educate adults about how to keep kids safe from child sexual abuse. So one of my favorite hats to wear. I get to do that tomorrow, but I'm traveling to the training site this evening. Sue says, same storm as Iceland. It's a big one, and there are more to follow. Well, sorry to hear that, Sue. No, Wanda, I have not seen Nora. Nora is in Seattle, and I am going to see Nora this weekend. Sunday or Monday. And trust me, when I see Nora, I will keep you guys posted. I may turn on the live chat for our YouTube group and come in and say hello. We'll see. Yes, I am looking forward to seeing Nora. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So guys, are we ready? Are we ready to jump in, dig deep? Love the topic today. As a few of us here in this space, we talk about right? We acknowledge that we are recovering perfectionists, right? And we say that we speak of that term lightly because, right, we recognize now that our perfectionism or the need to be perfect maybe started early on. Like I tried to play Little Miss Perfect my whole childhood. That was a survival strategy. It was a coping mechanism. It was a way to, okay, please don't ask me what I'm doing or how I'm doing or what's going on in my home or inside my heart and my body or my head, right? So many of us took on this role when we were younger. But then unfortunately, for many of us, it carried on into our adult lives. And I know I used to be a pain in the butt. Can ask, my children, right? It's like, it's hard to be raised by a mother who wants everything to be perfect. But I did learn as I matured and healed. Phew, right? Once I realized where it was coming from, I started getting or becoming easier on myself. Okay, I get it. I get it. It was a good way to hide. It was a good strategy, but it was exhausting. It was exhausting. And if anything, I want to start by here. I just pulled a quote by Brene Brown. Many of you, right, love her work. Hey, Elizabeth, welcome, friend. Glad you're here. Brene Brown says, perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought. If I look perfect and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. And I don't know about you, but growing up in my home, right, where there was domestic violence in the house, emotional, physical, sexual abuse, no one talked about it, right? And I was just a little girl when that started with no helpful guidance from any of the adults around me. What did I take on as a belief as a little girl? That's what all children do, right? Whose fault was it? Mine. So I was the one to blame. I was the one to blame. And I judged myself and I fed my own shame. Right? And when we feel the need to hide, playing perfect, we are really recycling, right? Sue says, hey friend. Sue asks here on YouTube, she said, addictive? Is that why it is so tough to get out of the system? That's a very beautiful question, Sue, because if we are just talking biology, right, what our nervous system does, how our nervous system operates, we've talked about shame, right? When we feel shame, as if, and shame means there's something inherently bad with us. Like we don't think that what we did was bad. No, I am bad, period. Right? Hey, Sharon. Hey, friend. Glad you're here. Then when I feel shame to that degree, I am literally, right? My nervous system is like in fight or flight mode. And I am literally self-attacking. So no longer am I worried about somebody coming from outside to hurt me, but I am literally feeding that judgment, that criticism, that self-loathing inside of me. And what happens when we feel we're under attack? What happens to our nervous system? Right? Our nervous system, fight, flight. And what happens in the fight or flight? our body starts to pump hormones, stress hormones into the nervous system because our body thinks we need to fight or flee. And so literally what people are learning, right, about the brain, about the biology and the nervous system is that literally, yes, we become addicted to the rush of the hormones that are meant to just to be temporarily in our system. But we live in that state of arousal, if you will, of like high stress, right? And our body simply never gets past to go from the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic, where we're actually, once the stress is over, we are meant to come back into a calm state, into a relaxed state. So take a deep breath. If this is you, if you can relate, right? So let's practice some self-compassion right here, right now. Use your tool, whether it's tapping. Yes. Yes. Yes, Sue. So just notice what's happening inside of you, right? As maybe you're sitting here hearing this, or if you can relate, or if you can feel your body is responding. Excuse me. Be gentle with yourself. Good. Good, Elizabeth. Because we're practicing right here. This is like we're walking our talk. Noticing when my nervous system gets activated, what are some of the tools that I can use to help lower the stress in my body? Okay. I can do a little tapping. I can feel my feet on the ground, right? Do a little tapping, little self-compassion, look around. Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe right here, right now. Slow down our breath. Yes, Sue, exactly. Exactly. So two things happen, right? Once we are so used to operating in that space, like with the flooding of our toxic stress hormones, right? So we can see long term that wears out our nervous system, that wears out our immune system, right? That's where we get inflammation, right? It's just like something is not working. Too much stress, too much tension, too much, right? And that's when we get sick, right? All aches or pains, or literally we are wearing out the part of our system that's only supposed to come online to protect us when we need it. But when we live there all the time, we are wearing out our rest and digest and renewal system, which our body knows how to do so beautifully, but gets caught in the problem solving loop of solving what's causing the stress. But no longer, like I said, is it coming from anything out here, but we are the ongoing generator of that. So that's the one piece. Exactly, Sue. And Sue says, yes. And so we miss the stress hormones when we're not stressed for a bit. Exactly. Exactly. And again, this is where, especially when we have complex trauma, when we have been living in this state for such a long time, it's your normal. It's how you know yourself to be and the world. So when we are considering the possibility of changing that in some way, one, our body is like, you're going to do what? Right? That's why we have to go slow, because you consider the possibility of relaxing. Your body goes, wait, what's this? this doesn't feel safe. And what happens? You shoot right back up into the fight or flight. So that's right, often the PTSD. We are trying to relax, doesn't feel safe. We go back up into the stress, and then we're tired and we come back down. Can you see that? So that's where it is so important that we go ever so slow, my friends, ever so slowly, sometimes just one breath at a time, just dropping, lowering the shoulders for just a moment. Okay, so that's what a different state, holding ourselves in a different state, feels like, can look like, can sound like. And we may go back there, right? And then because, right, when we start to maybe create a little bit of calm in our space, in our bodies, and manage to quiet our mind, sometimes then we feel bored, right? It's like we don't know what to do with ourselves. We may even resist it. We feed off of this high intensive energy. So again, it takes some time getting used to. So Sue says she's having a bit of a light bulb moment. Makes sense. And again, that can be a part of the dance that we sometimes do with our resistance. Yes, exactly. Sue says it can feel wrong. And if we feel wrong, the message we send to our mind, which is a meaning-making machine, what's the story? For someone who is trying to be perfect all the time, it must be, I'm doing something wrong. I'm wrong. Instead of like something feels wrong, it isn't wrong or bad. It's just like, this is a new experience. Make sense? Because your mind is always reading the information coming up from your body, because your body is reading the whole, the information coming in. Yes, and we get stressed again. Exactly, Sue. Exactly. Whew. Oh my word, she says. Anybody else? Comments, thoughts? And I know I'm slowing down my speech intentionally right now. Not thinking you guys are slow in any way. It helps me to calm down and to slow down when I'm explaining this. Because actually, this is something that I get super excited about when I explain to other people, because in my trauma brain and my trauma body, I thought there was something wrong with me constantly, right? And feeding that to my mind. And once I understood, that explains it. And once we know how these systems work and how they work together, I felt empowered. Yes, there was some grieving to do. Like, oh my gosh, why didn't I know this sooner, right? No, I know this now. What I didn't know then doesn't matter, but I'm here now. I'm here now. And I want to be really intentional of understanding this so I can apply it to my life, my body, my nervous system, my thinking, my taking action in my life, instead of the knee-jerk autopilot that so many of us, because of trauma, because of chronic tension, we live out of, and sometimes feel powerless to change those cycles. But let me say it again, right? We need to go slowly, because we are working with a brilliant machine, your body, your temple, your advocate, right? Your history book, it's all here. So working with it and really understanding it and learning to listen to it and work with it happens when we really, really slow down. Mark says, hey, Mark, glad that you're here, friend. He says, I seem I have never healed after a head trauma. I'm very sorry to hear about that, Mark. Head traumas are very tricky. I know from experience, I can't speak to yours. Obviously, I had a head injury myself as a teenager. I have a daughter that played soccer that got head injury. And sometimes it's one of those things it's hard to know how to heal, but we are doing everything we know we can do and what we are looking into, like the research shows. You're totally changed after your accident. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry. I encourage you to do as much research, or I know it's hard sometimes to focus when our mind doesn't cooperate, when our brain isn't cooperating, but to do your best to look up what has worked for other people, because we are learning so much about the brain and the body and how it heals itself. So I'm so sorry that happened to you, but I'm glad that you are here. You're not alone. I'm not an expert on head injury or head trauma, but people seem to care because I look great on the outside. I hear you. I hear you. But it's okay. Take your time, Mark. But the thing is, people are starting to do more and more research about head injuries and head traumas. So let's see here. I'm looking at my YouTube channel where we got people chatting. Let's see. Elizabeth says, I'm practicing acceptance on things that don't work out my way. It's not always easy, though. Nope, I get it. It's not always easy, but acceptance, self-acceptance, mindfulness is really powerful to really able to sort out and separate, what can I change? What can I control? Because a lot of what we're trying to control is out of our control. So coming back to the breath, to the body in this moment, what's the struggle? What's really happening, right? Understanding, okay, I'm having a hard feeling. This is hard. This is painful. This is suffering. Humans do suffer. Life is hard, right? Come back to the breath, come back to the body. And again, the best we can, as slowly as we can, because if the body has been in the fight, flight, or freeze for so long, it's going to take us time to reintroduce a new way to be. So Wanda says here, makes perfect sense. When I lost my mom and my job, I became homeless, and that explains the chronic physical medical issues that developed. Yes, right, Wanda? I hear you. I hear you. I hear you, and I'm so sorry. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. I'm so sorry that happened. And I hope, right, that this, like you said, it explains. That's how I felt when I learned about the ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, that none of us, there's nothing wrong with any of us, right? We are all textbook examples of adults that have been through hardship, abuse, or neglect, right, as children, right? And so it makes perfect sense once we understand the link between childhood trauma and health issues later in life. It makes perfect sense. So, but also what we're learning, right? There's so much we can do to help ourselves heal once we understand and we understand the habits and the patterns and the cycles to do the best we can to work with our bodies, not against it again, and that's where I'm such an advocate of self-compassion and kindness towards yourself, because we end up being so hard on ourselves, right? It wasn't your fault. I'm so sorry, right? And once I was able to say that to myself, it's like, hey, baby girl, hey, sweet body, there's nothing wrong with you. I know this is hard and I know it hurts at times, but you're doing a beautiful job. You're doing a beautiful job. So talking to my body the way I would do my best friend or my fur babies, right? My pets or my children. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is hard. Elizabeth says, childhood now feels like being held hostage to people, too self-absorbed to seeing me. I hear you, Elizabeth. Totally understand that, right? And that's piece of it too. Once we start to heal and we start to understand trauma, it's like you look around, everybody is dealing with some form of hurt. It's okay, Mark. No worries, right? And so much of the trauma that was handed down to us is multi-generational. It didn't start with us. It may not even have started with our parents or our grandparents. So again, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength to choose to do this work. A lot of courage, a lot of strength. And I know there's been times when I've, thought, whoa, if I would have known maybe how hard this was going to be, I don't know. But once you're down that chute, right, there's no way back. You can't not know what you now know. But I also have to say, my sweet friends, that no matter what, it has been worth it. It has been worth it. Because now all my time and attention that I devote to my healing is devoted to healing me, to really, right? The name of my book, Releasing Your Authentic Self. Finding out the truth of who you are. No, I am not those things. Like, who am I if I am not all that hurt? If I'm not all that shame? If I'm not all those masks that I put on? If I'm not just that happy face that I would put on? If I'm not just so helpful and pleasant and happy-go-lucky? Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm a lot more diverse inside. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that I had no idea. Sharon says, you can't unjump out of the plane. You can't unbake the cake. Yes. I get it. And the thing is, we can't undo, right? We can't undo the past. We can't undo the harm or the hurt. And that's where, for me, the journey has really been about, going from my head to my heart, is to really love who I am through the hurt, to love myself enough to be willing to sit with my hurt instead of punishing myself for being the way I am. Like I said, once I started reading all these books about trauma, I'm like, wait a minute, I could see myself in all these pages, right? But then it's like, okay, then if I'm not this, then who am I? And instead of living my life like out of the trauma reactions, it's like, well, if I am a kind, generous, loving human being, then how do I show up in the world? And I started to focus on that. Mark says, I have mood swings. Anger is worse. On meds. Sad. Don't want to be like this. I want my old self back. I hear you, Mark. I am very sorry to hear that. I can imagine, right? That must be hard. Must be very, very hard. So I hope you're gentle with yourself, my friend. It is hard. And it is hard when our body, like just on autopilot, takes over in a way, because it's doing what it's trained to do. But once we understand how we can work with it, like I said in the beginning, sometimes one breath at a time, we can slowly learn to rewire, to reset, to understand our thoughts and our feelings, and manage and learn to build that resilience so we can hold ourselves, to be with ourselves in some of those challenging, upheavals or processing those feelings, and also recognize when it is that we need another body, another human to co-regulate when our nervous system just spikes so fast and so maybe often that we need someone else in our space, even if it's just on camera or on the phone, to help our nervous system calm down. Sometimes we just need to calm down. You're back to doing jobs you were doing in your 20s. I hear you, Mark. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Yes, that must be hard. That must be hard. Let's see here. Wanda says, thank you, Elizabeth. It was one of the hardest part of my life. I had nothing left to do but honestly look and take care of myself. It was when I first felt like I had to help me and put myself first. Absolutely. Elizabeth says, I'm on that road with you, putting myself first, even if some people seem to resent it. Exactly. Elizabeth, Wanda, and others. That is the healing journey, right? Today, now that I understand the toxic impact my past has had on my body, I take exquisite slow time, to take care of myself, take care of my body. Not always perfect, work in progress, but right, it's not selfish. I'm doing what I can to help my body heal itself by minimizing that stress, to work with it, to feed it what it needs, giving it the water that it needs, giving it the rest that it needs, giving it the social support that it needs. Hey, friend. And because that's my priority and my responsibility now, today, right? Since I am not a child, right? I am not, like, I was dependent on my caregivers as a little girl when a lot of this happened, but I'm a grown-up now and learning to become the parent and the protector that I needed to be so loving and kind to myself, so that I can, restore my connection to my truth and my heart. So let's see here. Wanda says, I always took care of everyone. When my mom passed, I had no one else to take care of. My kids were grown. Yes, I hear you, Wanda. Sharon says, I'm pretty much alone, have toxic siblings and cousins 1,500 miles away. I hear you, Sharon. Sometimes, removing ourselves from the toxic environment is the best thing we can do. Divorce our family, right? Just because we were born into a family doesn't mean we have to stay in it. And again, this is where I love the internet, right? Yes, it's beautiful and amazing if we can find local support, peer support groups, but they are out there. They're on the internet. And if you're seeking, you found us. And we're happy that you're here and glad to support you. I hear you, Sharon. I hear you. And we love your Roxy. We love your Roxy. So, well, friends, I went on a bit of a tangent here, but I'm going to go to the page of the day. And the topic of today we've covered already, but I wanted to share, you guys in the Facebook group shared some beautiful comments, right? Like many of you, I used to chase perfection. Yes, thank you. You know it, right? When certain toxic people leave, right? Yep. Got to look out for ourselves and find the right people. Find your people. So let's see. Hey, Paul. And let's see here. I used to chase perfection, trying so hard to look beautiful and perfect on the outside, right? While never feeling the way on the inside. Now I know why. True beauty is the inner beauty of your heart, my friend, not the outer beauty of our appearance. So the two questions I asked in our Facebook group today, and to those, there's a few people joining here on Periscope. Feel free to, Paul, feel free to ask question. I'll get to it as soon as I can. The two questions I asked today was, how would you describe the beauty of your heart today? And what is one way you can stop chasing perfection this week? And I'm going to scroll down here. Thank you, guys. I'm going to share with you what the group members shared with us. I hear you, Paul. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. That's letting go of the past is what we do here every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in this community. So I'm glad you're here, Paul. Let's see. Wanda says, the beauty of my heart is, thank you, Paul. The beauty of my heart is loyalty to learning how to give myself the permission not to be perfect, to learn to give myself the same patience and compassion I have and show to those I care about. The beauty of my heart is that it loves unconditionally without judgment. And we know and love and appreciate your heart, my friend Wanda. Absolutely. We feel, love, and appreciate that beautiful heart that you so generously share with us. I hear you. I see you. I feel you, my friend. Thank you. She goes on to say, this week, one way I will stop chasing perfection is forgiving myself for things I could not do but haven't quit trying to do. Could not do, but I haven't quit trying. There you go, Wanda. There you go, my friend. Forgiveness, forgiving ourselves, accepting ourselves, right? One moment at a time. And to remember sometimes the things that we struggle with accepting about ourselves, those are our coping strategies. Those were our coping mechanism. Maybe even ways we acted out, right? And so, yeah, I have done things not fun or pretty, I'm not proud of, but I can look at it now with compassion, with kindness, cannot judge myself. I would have done different if I would have known better, or if I'd had the loving, caring support. I know I wouldn't have acted out the way I did, right? So now, accepting myself for all the things, for being human, right? I made mistakes. I fell on my face many of times, right? And sometimes any acting out, there's an unmet need. We see this in kids, right? And it's just more acceptable when there's children acting out than when adults are acting out. But in a way, we also acted out because there was an unmet need. There was an unmet need. We simply did not know how. Someone is laying too close to the heater. That's funny. So be gentle with yourself. And Wanda, yes, I really beat myself up for not publishing poetry book yet. Well, I hear you, Wanda. Be gentle with yourself, my friend, right? You will. There is no doubt you will. There is no doubt that you will. Sooner than later. I told you, I'm your accountability partner on this. So let's see. I'm looking back on some of your questions here or chats. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you, my friends. So thank you, Wanda. I'd love to know where the healing is for the trauma, for it hasn't found me. Hey, Stevie, I hear you, friend. What has helped you to be able to grow from it and not make the same mistakes? Thank you. Is it tomato? Sun-dried tomato? I was relentless in learning how to accept myself and understand what was the drive behind some of my compulsive or behaviors, like the acting out, right? If it was an unmet need that I was driving me to do a certain thing, then I was relentless. I'm going to figure out what's missing inside of me that makes me think I have to act this out in some way to get that need met. So we know so much about the healing process today. We are living in the golden age of human transformation, my friends. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes some energy and some effort. But my take on it was, it's like, well, right? And I'm not minimizing anybody's hurt or anybody's overwhelm at all. Please hear me on that, because there are days where, right, it feels there is no end in sight, right? I've been there too, my friends. That I am here to encourage and inspire and empower you to keep going. Thank you, Ross. Thank you. And that's it. More and more people. Ross says here, Alison Moore has a great album and a memoir about coping with major childhood trauma. Exactly. Those of us who have found the ways, the processes, the tools, it's called blood, okay? Once we find what works, we can't help ourselves but want to pay it forward. We can't help ourselves but want to tell other people about it, because when I started my healing journey almost 30 years ago, it was like there was none of these tools or information was available. And once I learned, I'm like, wait, more people need to know. We can heal. We can, right? We will never be the same, but we can reclaim our life. We can reclaim our bodies. We can reclaim our hearts. And we do that one page, one day. And that's like my books are, both of them are 365-day guides. Because when I now wake up in the morning, this is my life, my energy, right? I'm choosing how this day is going to unfold out to the best of my ability. But I'm going to take care of myself enough so that whatever happens out here, right, I will still remember who I am and why I'm here. So let's see here. There was another question here. I'm scrolling. Did you recognize what you needed to work on, or did the life situation that help you realize? It's a very good question. I knew, to share that with you, when I became pregnant of my oldest child, she is now 26 years old. That was kind of like my light bulb moment that I realized I needed to understand what had happened to me as a child, because I wanted to be the mom who could protect her, to not continue maybe the legacy of not understanding how to best support and protect her when she's a child. So that was what got me started. So I found a support group that I was in for 5 years. And it was actually in that support group, once I started healing, that's when I really realized what it was that needed healing. But I was willing to start it. And I know not always an easy choice to make, but it was very clear to me, okay, I'm willing to start. I may not know where it goes or how it goes, but I'm willing. I am willing. And like I often say to you guys, willingness is courage under cover, right? And now I know how courageous that was of me. I now know how courageous you are for showing up here to choose to learn. Because when we have to question who we are, it really makes us question everything. And living in a body that needs safety, that needs certainty, that needs to know what happens next, that can be hard. That can be hard. And that's, again, where having a support system around you when we question and doubt everything, it's important that we do the best we can to surround ourselves with helpful support. So thank you for asking that. Let's see, lots of dialogue going on in here in the group. Stevie, I've found that healing was and is like everything. I had to go after it. The hard work, feel the pain, and just keep going, never quit. One of the hardest things is to talk openly about certain emotion or mental health because of stigma. Absolutely. Absolutely, Tomato. That's, again, while I'm here, I am doing the best I can to normalize this conversation. Right? We need to talk about our feelings. We need to feel our feelings. We need to talk about our mental health. And our mental health, there is stuff happening in our mind that we need to be able to talk about. It's not talking about it that makes us feel crazy. It's like, once we can talk about it, if you only knew what the heck is going on inside of my head. Oh, that goes inside of your head too? Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I thought it was just me. I thought I was crazy. No, not crazy. Not one bit. And the same thing with what's happening in our bodies. As a little girl, I would leave my body. I left when I was being hurt. And for years, I didn't dare to tell anybody because I thought they're going to lock me up. They're going to tell me I'm crazy. Nobody leaves their bodies. Yeah, I did. That's how I survived. And then when I started reading books about trauma, yes, you can leave your body. That happens to people when they have car accidents. The shock, you leave. So once I understood, no one told me, right? And how much I struggled and suffered thinking that there was something wrong with me, literally that I was crazy. No, none of you crazy, none of you. Nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong with you. I stand firm on that one. So We are all just, we're perfectly normal given what we've been through, given our trauma, abuse, neglect, whatever it is. Here we are. Nothing wrong with you. Textbook example, right? We all hurt the same way. We all struggle the same way. Yes, little different interpretations. Yes, some minor things, but humans, our bodies, predictable. Let's see here. I'm scanning through a lot of the comments here over on YouTube. You guys are doing great. You guys are doing great. See, this is what happens. Someone asks a question. If I don't know the answer, there's a whole team of people here. Lots of wisdom, lots of experience. So thank you, Wanda, sharing in the group. Let's see, Sue shared with us, commenting to the question. Hey, Gucci Vision, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I'm not taking on video chat right now. I'm sorry for that, but I have Periscope and YouTube going at the same time. So I'm actually looking at 3 monitors. So I'm trying to not to tip into overwhelm up here myself. So we're doing good. We're doing good. Sue shared the 2 questions. Let's refresh. We have about 10 minutes left. How would you describe the beauty of your heart today? And what is one way that you can stop chasing perfection this week? Knowing, like we talked about earlier, why we chase perfection as a way to hide, right? Hey, Angel, I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. Sue shared with us, so I never did aspire to be beautiful. My struggle was always to try to be anywhere near good enough. Can anybody else relate? Just being good enough? First for my parents and then in my marriage. And of course, I never was. But at that time, chasing perfection was all I knew. And as I still struggle at times to accept myself as I am, seeing myself as beautiful remains a stretch for me. Yet, I guess I am kinder and more compassionate and forgiving towards myself than I used to be. And I hope towards others too. So maybe my heart is a little more beautiful. Yes, you are, Sue. And I am continuing to try and stop chasing perfection by reassuring myself daily that whatever I have or haven't done today, it's enough and that I am good enough just as I am. Beautiful, Sue. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have a beautiful, beautiful heart, my friend, that we know and see and celebrate and cherish and are so grateful for. You share your healing journey, your vulnerable self, your process so many times. Yes, we see your beauty. Yes, exactly, real Rosie. Yes. Perfectionism is toxic because we are hiding our shame. We are hiding our true feelings. I really had to work on it by putting myself in situations that were out of my comfort zone. Yes, that's how we grow, right? Humans. I'm the human part of the human race, right? How we learn by doing, by getting uncomfortable, by stepping out of our comfort zone. And again, that is hard for many of us that, live in bodies that has worked so hard at staying and keeping it safe. So I'm scrolling down here. Okay, Donna gave me permission, sharing. She says, I'm having a hard time describing the beauty of my heart today. I am not feeling very good about myself today. I'm sorry, Donna. Rather wrestling with feelings of emptiness and anxiety. In this moment, I appreciate this question because it jolts my ego. I remember that despite all, my heart is multifaceted. No matter the day, there is always a place where it feels gratitude and empathy. So today I celebrate that beautiful chamber in my heart. One way I can stop chasing perfection this week is to say, I hear you. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Donna, I'm sorry to hear you're having a hard day today. But the same goes for you, my friend. We know your beautiful, caring, loving, supportive heart. All the encouragement that you do here for us in this space. We hear you, we see you, we celebrate you, my friend. Yes, 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 yes. Well, with that, my friends, I am so glad that you are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for chiming in today, for joining us. And again, if you're watching the replay, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Like I mentioned earlier, when I started, if you'd like to learn more about some of my work and some of my coaching, visit my website, svavabrooks.com. Also, if you'd like to join our community, we have a closed Facebook group where I post the page of the day from the book, and then people share their journal entries. And basically, we heal faster in groups, because when we see ourselves in what other people are sharing, we realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't, I thought it was just me. I thought it was just me. And then we also see how other people are going about healing those things. We not only, right, have to go through the painstaking effort of figuring that out for ourselves, but when we hear and see and get to witness the process of other people. And as a collective, we heal faster in group. And I have to say, right, I can totally see that in our group, in our Facebook group. So thank you, thank you, thank you, beautiful souls, for always being there and encouraging and supporting each other. Today, of course, I pulled a card for us. Let me not forget. One day she woke up and realized she was rich. If this is the reminder that you needed today, to remember you have in your body today already within you all the things that you need to heal and restore. You may need a little bit of more information about the healing journey. You may need some information about what happens to our bodies when we are traumatized or abused or neglected. Once you understand or get that information, then we can practice to be, right? We learn to be this way. We can learn to be different. And that's the beautiful thing about humans and our bodies and our minds. We are constantly learning. We are constantly regenerating. It's never too late. It's never too late. Yes, Elizabeth, I think Wanda is referring to my book. And again, like I mentioned, the healing journey really started to make that shift from just really surviving to really tapping into, thriving, and really feel like I was living out of some of these mental concepts that I had been talking about for years. That started with my daily intention, my daily journaling, daily meditating, regular exercise, regular, right, rest, and beautiful, beautiful, exquisite self-care, because you are worth it. What are your thoughts on alternative medicine and therapy? I am all for you trying everything under the sun. I have tried therapy. I did group work. I have done emotional release work. I myself, as a coach, I empower my clients with inner child work. I am a Reiki practitioner. I am also a trauma and tension release practitioner, so working with the body. I also teach meditation. I teach self-compassion. I'm a huge fan of cranial sacral work. EMDR is a powerful healing method for some people. So, we are multidimensional beings, and we need to explore a whole range of healing. And what works for one may not necessarily work for other, but keep going, my friends. Keep going. Keep going. So, note, not a book to read, more of a daily guided journal. Exactly. There you go. It is a workbook. So each day there is what I call the truth of the day, and then there are 2 questions to reflect, to journal. So yes, exactly. Well, with that, thank you, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you back here on Thursday. Same time, same place, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, please be gentle with yourself. Take really, really, really good care of yourselves and your hearts. And if you have any comments or questions, can someone else fill it out for me? It's better that you do your own journaling. It's better if you do your own journaling. But if you have trouble writing, you can also read the questions and meditate on them. Some days when I don't feel writing on it, I sit and I reflect. There you go, and record. Exactly. So last thing, thank you for all the beautiful hearts here on Periscope. Thank you for the thumbs up on YouTube. All that is appreciated. Thank you, friends. I'll see you on Thursday. Until then, take good care. Thanks, friends.